Hi folks, this is Steve with Disruptive Software. In Chapter 4 of the iCanScript Space Shooter tutorial series, we're going to learn how to create waves of asteroids falling from the top of the screen that we can dodge and shoot at. Our player can now move around the game area, and there is a single asteroid to shoot or avoid. Let's go ahead and make this more challenging. Let's take a look at our game controller. We spawn a single hazard when the game controller is started. We should create them periodically, so let's move this to the update message handler. Add the update message handler, and let's move our spawn hazard package there. You can move it by control dragging it to the update. Let's take a moment to review the different types of dragging we can do. If we just drag a node, we can move it around within its constraints. If we control drag a node, we can move it outside of its constraints. And if we shift drag, we make a copy and move the copy. We can even move the copy outside of the visual editor, as when we created a snippet previously. With spawn hazard now in the update message handler, what would this look like? Let's see. Update is invoked every frame, so we would spawn a hazard each frame, probably flooding the screen. Let's see. Ouch! Just as predicted. That would not be very playable. So let's design a flexible sequencing of hazards. We can create several control variables to control timing and counts. This way, we can easily fine-tune them later, or even allow incrementing difficulty over time or levels as a future enhancement. A new hazard every frame on update is too much, so let's drop one every half second or so and call that time spawn wait. We can drop around 10 in a row and call that number hazard count. Let's have a 4-second break every 10 and call that delay wave wait. Also, when we start, let's wait a second so the player can get prepared. We will call that delay start wait. Let's start by creating a package called spawn waves. We will tackle the spawn wait first. We want to drop hazards at timed intervals, so we can use a pulse generator since it generates a pulse at timed intervals. That is what we used for rapid firing our shots. Let's find pulse generator, which is part of the iCanScript library. Pull a pulse generator builder and pulse generator function into the package. Connect the instance ports. Drag time to the package interface and call it spawn wait. Set it to half a second. We want to start with a pulse instead of waiting the time interval for the first pulse, so set start with pulse to true. We want to invoke the spawn hazard package on the pulse, so add an enable to the spawn hazard package and connect it to the pulse output. Let's see how this looks. Wow, starting to feel like a real game. Now, let's add a break between waves. Basically, we want to drop a certain number of asteroids, and pause, then continue. We can use the oscillator from the iCanScript library to do that, basically creating an on time and off time for dropping asteroids. Drag the oscillator builder and the oscillator class and connect the instances like we did for the pulse generator. The break, or false time, is the wave wait time, so drag that out. Name it, and set it to 4 seconds. Now, what should our on or true time be? Basically the time for hazard count number of asteroids to fall. This would be hazard count multiplied by spawn wait. So let's multiply them. Drag out the true time and select mul from the iCanScript math library. Drag A to the package interface and call it hazard count and set it to 10. Connect B to spawn weight. We can fold this node to make things neater. Now, connect the oscillator output to the active port on the pulse generator. Let's see if this works. Oh no, nothing is happening. I must have done something wrong. Now might be a good time to get an introduction to debugging with iCanScript. Let's see our script in action while we run. To do this, let's break out the game into a separate window. Just drag the tab outside of the Scene Visual Editor Game window like this. Select Game in one window and Visual Editor in the other, and press the Run button. Make sure runtime value is checked. We can see by the frame count incrementing that our oscillator and pulse generator are running every frame, but the output of our oscillator seems to be stuck at false. Ah, I see the problem here. The active port of the pulse generator was set to false, basically keeping it off. Let's toggle it to true while running and see if that fixes it. Perfect. Now 10 asteroids fall and it waits for 4 seconds. We can see the oscillator output toggling between true and false now. For deeper debugging, we can also set trace on over here and see a trace of our script executing in the console. Let's stop our game now. Wait a moment, why is active false again? That is because any changes you make to the visual script values while the game is running are only temporary, and you will need to permanently make these changes to the visual script while stopped. It is easy to forget this point and wonder why your changes disappeared. I know this caught me more than once. But let's actually not just set it to true, let's only start the oscillator after a start wait delay has expired. We can use functions from the iCanScript timer library to do that. Drag start timer into the start message handler. This function will output the end time when the timer will elapse. Time is the duration of the timer. Set it to 1 second and change the label to start wait. Now drag is time elapsed into our update message handler. This will check for the timer elapsing by checking if end time is reached. Connect the end time ports together and connect is elapsed to the active port on our oscillator. Now looking at this, why is our timer split between 2 different message handlers? If we had put start timer in the update message handler, it would get reset on every frame and never trigger. We only want to start the timer when the game is started and the game controller is created. Let's fold the package and clean up. Looks nice and simple now. Let's test. This is coming together well. Now we just need to add some scoring, game over, and restart handling, and we'll have a real game. Thank you for watching, and please join us in the next chapter of the series where we will continue building the space shooter game.